TransLink connects BART and 6 other transit systems through a single fare card. But progress has put the brakes on this 6-month pilot program.
The card can't be used the way it was intended to be used on BART for at least a temporary period of time.
Can't because the technology in new fare gates, like these at the Fruitvale station, isn't compatible. 300 BART passengers, like Gabby Miller, are affected.
I'd say don't install it until it's all compatible. It's too hard. It's too hard on the passengers.
TransLink is offered in only 9 of BART's 39 stations, and it's administered by the Metropolitan Transit Commission. A spokesman says, "I think the most important thing in the near term is to keep the test going, to allow TransLink users to use this as the fare gates are being prepared." Translation, an honor system of sorts that would have TransLink users passing through ticketless side gates. BART has okayed that, at least for now.
We want to be able to bail out of that temporarily if it becomes a problem. That is, if we see a lot of fare evasion going on because of it, if it gets out of control.
The official word from BART, it could be a year, probably 2, before the necessary technology is in place to resume the TransLink system. In fact, long-term, plans call for expanding the program to all 21 transportation agencies here in the Bay Area. In Oakland, John Lobertini, Channel 5, Eyewitness News.
At this time, it appears he attempted to cut his throat.
Sudden and without warning. That's how passengers on board Greyhound bus 6860 described the attack. Mike McClure was headed home to Morgan Hill.
It happened so fast, it was seconds. He ran from the back of the bus to the front of the bus in like 2 seconds.
And that's all it took for Arturo Martinez to allegedly slash the driver's throat with a pair of scissors. The 27-year-old man is from Los Angeles. He's described as a transient.
He did attempt to take the life of the driver, at which time the driver defended himself and lost control of the bus.
At 70 miles an hour, the Bay Area-bound bus veered off Interstate 5 and plowed into a cotton field 1 hour west of Fresno. 2 people were killed, more than 24 injured. The driver somehow survived. Most were asleep when the attack took place just after 8:30 Monday night.
The person next to me helped me out. We had to crawl across the dead people. They were on the ground. They didn't move.
A similar attack almost a year ago left 7 people dead in Tennessee. Since then, Greyhound has taken a zero tolerance with aggressive passengers. 1 in 5 are now searched. Drivers are also equipped with cell phones to report emergencies, but none of that helped.
We try to carry people with safety, dignity, and convenience. And we're not perfect, and we can improve on all 3.
Following the crash, those who could climbed through broken windows. When authorities arrived, passengers pointed out the attacker who unsuccessfully tried to run. There is no known motive.
He has told us several stories about why he did what he did, and there's a lot of things that we have to consider. We're looking at under the influence of narcotics or drugs or alcohol. We're looking at maybe some mental health issues.
The first cargo in 11 days came off container ships in the port of Oakland just after 7 o'clock. Lloyd Taylor is a foreman.
It feels good to go back to work, but not under these conditions.
Why is that?
Because we're being forced.
Forced back to work by a federal order. Now loading and unloading ships anchored off 29 West Coast ports could take as long as 10 weeks.
The need is urgent, and we have the capability of working 7 days a week, 24 hours a day in order to unclog the pipeline.
A pipeline that also involves trains, trucks, warehouse workers, and consumers. But the Longshoremen's Union is refusing to allow members to work double shifts or compromise safety.
It's just about working safe and sane and rational, because we have so much work now that it's a prime time for our membership to start getting hurt.
In fact, the union alleges it put production first about a year ago as a show of good faith.
I'd like to list the names of the brothers who were killed on the docks.
But since March, there have been 6 deaths in California. In an average year, there's maybe 1. The AFL-CIO is taking notice.
We want to go to our elected officials and talk to them about health and safety on the docks.
Tied at 1 in the bottom of the 9th, the San Francisco faithful could smell the World Series.
They did it last night, they can do it again.
And they did. 42,673 erupted in a way only long-suffering fans can.
This one's for my dad. He just passed away. He's a Giants fan. Cookie! Giants, I love you, baby!
The fireworks send the Giants to the World Series for just the 3rd time since they moved west in 1958.
Oh, it was worth it. I still can't feel any of my extremities, but I'm happy. Oh, it's the best game I've ever been to in my life, man. World Series doesn't get better than this.
As manager Dusty Baker waved to adoring fans, the frenzy spilled into the street. The sign at Momo's across from Pac-Bell Park now looking like a premonition.
It's absolutely incredible. I mean, back in August, we didn't even think we had a chance at the wild card, and we're going to the World Series right now.
It's fabulous. We finally made it. We're going to get Anaheim pretty soon here. It's on the road to recovery.
The Coast Guard searched an area south of Hunters Point for almost 14 hours. An 87-foot cutter combed the water, while helicopter pilots used night vision goggles from the air. At 57 degrees, the bay is a frigid trap for unsuspecting swimmers.
If you go in the water, you don't have any kind of protective gear, you could lose consciousness in 40 minutes or so, even less.
Witnesses say the 30-year-old victim was thrown from this boat, the Royal Prince, during a fight on the cruise ship late Saturday night. The 2 men, we're told, were attending a private party along with 270 other people. Parties often called booze cruise ships because of the easy availability of alcohol. Today, the president of the Red and White Fleet greeted tourists on Fisherman's Wharf, hoping to head off the bad publicity.
I just think the thing to do, I think there's a person that's been injured in this, and I think we should just wait and gather the facts. Okay,
Were you on the boat last night or around when any of this happened? A 27-year-old man is in the San Francisco jail. Police believe he is the culprit in this pre-Halloween party tragedy, but the investigation is still unfolding.
Hey, ho, ho. Lower standards got to go.
450 nurses at 2 doctors' medical centers walked off the job and straight to the picket line. For Pam Rowland, a nurse in a burn unit, going on strike was an emotional choice.
I've got a burn patient who's been there 54 days. It's hard to leave him.
The union says nurses are overworked and outnumbered. They want better patient-nurse ratios. But the real hot-button issues are a guaranteed pension and retirement health benefits.
Nurses working all around here, all around this hospital. Kaiser, the University of California, Catholic Healthcare West Center, all have a pension plan, all have retiree health benefits.
Tenet Healthcare, the corporation that owns the hospital, brought in 138 replacement nurses in San Pablo.
So what we do here is
some from outside California. Striking nurses have questioned the quality of care under these conditions. In fact, they're urging those in need to go to other hospitals. Julie Klein is the chief nursing officer.
I don't see any reason for the people in the community to be concerned. We're holding our nurses that are here today to the same high standards that we hold our nurses to yesterday and last week.
On the issues, Doctors Medical Center says its 401k plan is comparable to what the nurses want.
We know it's a hoax.
But a shaky stock market and horror stories about life savings lost have these people craving something more secure.
It's not just for yourself, it involves your family.
Zita Ibrahim has been a nurse for 25 years.
I am 47. If I don't make any plans right now for my future, what will my future be?
They are turning the page on another chapter in Central Valley politics. Dennis Cardoza, a state assemblyman and a former aide to embattled former Congressman Gary Condit, is the winner in the 18th Congressional District. But maybe more importantly in the world of politics, this win gives the Democrats another seat in the Republican-dominated House of Representatives. Upon declaring victory, Cardoza was presented with a boxer's robe and gloves and vowed to continue fighting for the people of the Central Valley.
We're going to fight on behalf of the Central Valley, we're going to fight on behalf of California, and we're going to fight to make this country an even better place.
This was a high-stakes campaign in every aspect. Cardoza and Republican Dick Monteith spent $2 million, some of that money coming from national congressional committees, hoping to sway this very important race. In Atwater, John Lobertini, Channel 5, Eyewitness News.
They're a big, close family, and his loss is almost unbearable.
Buoyed by the strong words of civil rights attorney Gloria Allred, more than 200 people stood in the rain to attend this candlelight vigil.
And it's so painful to think of how he died, how long it took, and how much he suffered.
He is Eddie Araujo, a transgender 17-year-old who lived as Gwen. Araujo was beaten and strangled to death at a party in Newark last month when his sexual orientation was exposed. Since then, questions of tolerance have plagued this community.
And what they're telling us is they're scared. They're scared to come out. They're scared to, talk to their teachers, to their friends, especially in the light of Gwen's murder.
At Newark Memorial,
I'm not gay. Well, why did I do it?
The high school is making a statement by staging the Laramie Project, a play about the brutal murder of a gay college student.
People need to become more tolerant, and this play, as opposed to what many people say, is about tolerance, and it's about respecting people's differences.
3 men are in jail facing charges for Araujo's murder. But fearing a clash of views, Newark police surrounded the event with 40 officers. Eddie's mother, Sylvia Guerrero.
Things like this need to stop. These crimes need to stop. They're hate crimes.
The governor signed a proclamation officially calling for a special session of the legislature. He then revealed his list of $5 billion in budget cuts will not be enough.
The proposal I will actually unveil on Friday will be substantially higher than that.
An hour earlier, the governor called a meeting of the Big Five. With the top leaders of the legislature, there was talk about trimming a budget deficit that may be closer to $30 billion instead of $21 billion.
We have a huge problem. We know we have a problem and we need to address it.
The governor's budget plan reportedly includes no new tax increases, something Republican lawmakers have vowed to fight.
You know, we have a difference in philosophies. Our side believes it's a spending problem. The other side believes it's a revenue problem.
But the Democrats argue the budget gap can't be narrowed without an increase in revenues. Some have openly complained the governor is leaving the dirty work to the legislature.
We'll do what we have to do. I do not believe that the governor is holding us high and dry.
The two biggest chunks of the budget are health and human services and education.
I've said it before and I'll say it again. They are not going to balance this thing totally on the backs of the poor, the aged, the blind, and disabled.
But in his strongest stance yet, the governor made no promises, even to schools.
We have to solve this problem. Education is a big part of the budget. We have to find savings where we can find them.
John Lobertini, Channel 5, Eyewitness News.
I'm not ruling anything in, I'm not ruling anything out. If that means everything's on the table.
Often criticized for being soft, Governor Gray Davis took a hardline stand on the state's budget crisis. He started by announcing his list of proposed cuts, $5 billion worth, will not be enough.
The proposal I will actually unveil on Friday will be substantially higher than that.
An hour earlier, the governor called a meeting of the Big Five. With the top leaders of the legislature, there was talk about trimming a budget deficit that may be closer to $30 billion instead of $21 billion.
We have a huge problem. We know we have a problem and we need to address it.
The governor's plan includes no new taxes, prompting some to complain he's dumping the dirty work on the democratically controlled legislature. Assembly Speaker Herb Wesson is among the many who believes the budget can't be balanced without a tax increase.
In order to lead in California, it takes courage. I have every confidence that the members of my caucus will show the courage that they have.
Capitol insiders say this budget crisis is no surprise to the governor or the legislature. In fact, veteran columnist Dan Walters says the governor knew this was possible 2 years ago.
There was some conscious deception contained in the budget that was enacted earlier this year. It was deceptive in terms of counting revenues that everybody knew didn't exist. It was deceptive in terms of counting spending reductions that everybody knew wouldn't occur.
The two biggest chunks of the budget are health and human services and education.
I've said it before and I'll say it again. They are not going to balance this thing totally on the backs of the poor, the aged, the blind, and disabled.
But in his strongest stance yet, the governor made no promises, even to schools.
We have to solve this problem. Education is a big part of the budget. We have to find savings where we can find them.
You know what I really watch for is the trailers over there. When they start moving, then we go.
Debbie Loveridge has made it through 3 floods on the Russian River, but after 13 years, she says this will be her last.
Yeah, all night I was out here with the flashlight, kind of looking around, make sure the water's not there.
Heavy rains pounded Guerneville for a 3rd day in a row.
When it gets to pole 7, which is the next pole up, that's when we know it's time to start getting nervous.
At the Johnson Beach Mobile Home Resort, the flood gauge is primitive but effective. On Saturday, most packed their bags here, knowing they may have to evacuate.
We're kind of hanging in there, waiting to see what happens. It's kind of like sitting on a double-edged blade right now. It's either going to go up or down. If it comes up, we're out. If it goes down, we're going to stay.
The Russian River has jumped its banks 3 times in the past 7 years. The watermark on this building was left in 1995 when the flood crested at 48 feet.
Heavy winds here and rains here last night. We're anticipating more as the weekend goes, but we don't see the river itself flooding.
At the Bullpen Sports Bar, longtime residents stopped to take in the 49er game. At this point, most say the river is the least of their worries.
I am concerned with some of the mudslides in the area, you know, because my house is right on the side of a hill, and it could possibly wash it away.
At its highest, the Russian River topped out at 29 feet, just 3 feet below flood stage. Overnight, the river is expected to recede, but the National Weather Service says it will rise again by noon Monday. In Sonoma County, John Lobertini, Channel 5, Eyewitness News.
The shortfall is $34.8 billion, far more than any expert predicted.
Governor Gray Davis dropped this budget bombshell at a hastily called news conference at the state capitol. The deficit is almost double the $21 billion projection made public earlier this month.
The problem is so big, we don't have a lot of time for hand-wringing. We have to face this problem head-on. If anything, the magnitude of this problem underscores the urgency to act swiftly.
The governor refused to actually say the T word, but extra money could come from an increase in DMV fees, a tobacco tax, a bigger sales tax, a tax on the wealthiest Californians, and adjustments to the capital gains tax.
Those taxes that precisely will depress depress further the state of the economy.
Republican lawmakers have consistently opposed new taxes as a way of balancing the budget, and that remains a line in the sand.
If you were to go home today and find that you're spending more than you're taking in, I guarantee you don't go to your employer and say, give me some more money because I'm spending more than I'm taking in. We've got to make some serious reductions in the state of California.
Health and Human Services and education make up almost half of the state's $98 billion budget. Cuts there would seem inevitable. So might a challenge to Prop 98, a measure that set higher standards for spending on education.
What would $34 billion in cuts look like?
I haven't even got a clue. I mean, I think it would kind of look like a slaughterhouse in Chicago.
Critics will call this budget deficit a spending problem, but a sagging economy has caused similar crises in 48 other states. And according to the governor, the belt tightening may last years.
Very unlikely there'll be a recovery in 2003 at all, and you'll have to wait till 2004. There's a disagreement whether it's in the first half or second half before you see economic recovery.
I want you to know that's been pouring out for over a week.
Non-stop for over a week. In the hills above Sausalito, where the views are stunning, but some of the homes are built on stilts, you pay attention to ground saturation. Ben and Gloria Robinson vividly remember the landslides of 1982.
This enormous mudslide came down, and below us, inundated and destroyed a house, and that's where the lady was killed.
That was 82, but there were also damaging landslides in Marin County in 1986, 94, and 98.
It's somewhat of a game of chance.
Geologist Ray Wilson says it's important to remain alert in places like Marin and the Santa Cruz Mountains. Alert because the ground may give only small signs it's about to break loose.
A debris flow can slide up to 25, 30 miles an hour. That doesn't sound like much. If you're in a car, you can easily outrun it, but if you're on foot, it's awfully fast. It's faster than even a well-motivated runner.
On Friday morning, this hill near the Waldo Tunnel spilled onto Highway 101, closing 2 lanes of southbound traffic during the morning commute. And last Saturday, a landslide in the hills above San Rafael damaged several cars.
Roar of helicopters overhead and the megaphone saying, evacuate, evacuate.
Since 1982, longtime Sausalito residents like Doug Lloyd have learned to look for the warning signs: cracks in the ground, standing pools of water, and trees with a noticeable tilt.
There are some areas that I wouldn't want to be, personally.
Expect this landslide danger to remain a fact of life throughout the rainy season, figure through the end of March next year. In Larkspur, John Lobertini, Channel 5, Eyewitness News.
I can help you?
We got there, but there was like a huge line and stuff.
5:45 is sold out.
The movies are a tough ticket this holiday season. The crowd at the Regal Cinema in Dublin is a snapshot of the record demand nationwide at the box office.
There's a lot of good movies. I mean, a lot of good acting, a lot of good movies.
And Leonardo DiCaprio's in it, and he's a good actor, so I've been wanting to see a film with him lately.
Led by star-studded movies like Catch Me If You Can, the movie industry is expecting ticket sales to top $9 billion in 2002.
The 6:30 show of Lord of the Rings?
Part 2 of the Lord of the Rings trilogy is playing on 4 screens at this theater. It's a 10% increase over a year ago.
I love the trilogy. I'm an old fan of it. Had a dog named Frodo, so got to see it.
The increase in popularity comes at a time when ticket prices are higher, up an average of 3.5% nationwide. Here in the Bay Area, full price will cost you about $9 a movie. In San Francisco, movie lovers had even more variety. Antoine Fisher and the Spanish-language film Talk to Her are showing in limited release, largely to qualify for awards consideration.
Overall, the quality of movies this year is a little bit better than last year, too.
Barry Kane is movie critic for the Alameda newspaper group.
It's almost like comfort food that all of us can experience, no matter how bad it is out there. Once we're in here with that film going on and the comfort of a whole lot of other people.
$36.
But the boon isn't limited to the box office. DVD sales are way up, and in a tight economy, movie rentals are also playing to bigger crowds.
Or, on the satellite for $3.99. And it's over, and we'll joke about how, gee, that would have been, $30 out on the town.
Either way, there are lots of movie choices.
I can help you?
In Dublin, John Lobertini, Channel 5, Eyewitness News.
7:15. If I buy tickets, can I return?
During an 18-hour search of Laci Peterson's home, investigators looked through garbage cans and gathered bags of evidence. Earlier, the FBI confiscated 2 cars and 2 home computers.
We took the computers because the investigators want to try to find out if there was any activity prior to the missing of Laci. They also want to find out if there was some possible intrusion by a stranger.
The search for the 27-year-old woman continued around East La Loma Park. Laci, 8 months pregnant, told her husband she planned to walk the dog here. Investigators are also concentrating on thousands of acres of surrounding agriculture land. But in 3 days, not a single clue has surfaced.
Especially being pregnant and their first baby, and you just don't understand why.
And this will get from Santanella all over the airport.
At the newly formed Laci Peterson Command Center, dozens of volunteers offered to pass out flyers, but Laci's brother, Brent Rocha, is admittedly becoming paralyzed with fear.
The most painful thing about not knowing where she is that you can't go do anything. You want to go help her out, you want to go rescue her, you want to save her.
Investigators also plan a trip to the Bay Area, a trip to search the Berkeley Marina, where Scott Peterson says he went fishing alone the day his wife disappeared. Back in Modesto, a series of homeless encampments along Dry Creek are also under scrutiny. Dry Creek lines the park where Laci may have been walking her dog.
There have been some instances in the past. We had a homicide 2 years ago that was basically 2 homeless people that were involved.
But it's possible Laci never made it to East La Loma Park. Instead, police say bloodhounds tracked her scent to a nearby home and then to a winery 6 blocks in the other direction. A burglary across the street from Laci's home remains an intriguing development.
They were not our fingerprints.
This home was broken into sometime between Christmas Eve and December 26th. That watermark is from a safe that was stolen containing $50,000 in jewelry. Susan Medina, who asked us not to reveal her identity, fears Laci may have stumbled upon the crime.
It's just too much of a coincidence.
This burglary and her disappearance.
Yeah.
Laci's sister, Amy Rocha.
That's a real hopeful thing for us because it seems coincidental, you know.
Yeah, it's something.
Something, yeah. Before there was nothing.
Investigators continued their search of West Modesto along Highway 132, where bloodhounds initially tracked Laci's scent. They also returned to the Berkeley Marina for a 3rd time. Scott Peterson says he went fishing alone on his boat the morning Laci disappeared. Are you looking at the possibility he killed his wife and took her out on the boat and dumped her in the bay?
Well, you have to look at everything, you know, as a possibility.
Clearly, she's not a person that did this on her own. She did not walk away voluntarily. We have no evidence to believe that. And a week later, that we're here in this investigation, more concerned than we were 5 to 6 days ago.
Desperate for any leads, family members are increasingly focused on a burglary across the street from Laci's home.
I mean, what's the odds of someone disappearing across the street and a burglary happening?
Witnesses report seeing a white van in front of this home on the morning of Christmas Eve. Thieves made off with tools, a camera, a semi-automatic handgun, and a safe containing $50,000 in jewelry. 3 men were also seen nearby.
To me, that made the most sense. Her walking out of her yard, getting ready to go on her walk, and running, stumbling into that in action.
That could explain why bloodhounds traced Laci's scent not toward East La Loma Park, where she planned to walk the dog, but in the opposite direction before the trail grew cold on westbound Highway 132.
The way that she was reading the indication from the bloodhound was that Laci was probably in a vehicle.
Police also revealed more about their 3-day search of the Berkeley Marina. That boat launch slip provided by Laci's husband, Scott Peterson, comes from an unattended vending machine, and they now admit the marina has also been searched with bloodhounds.
Mr. Peterson and anybody else connected with this investigation will be considered and is considered a suspect.